about this first one. So I'm seeing some really good answers coming in the chat. Sino, your answer looked beautiful. You just made a very, very small mistake with your exponent of the x. I think maybe you would have seen it by now. So let's have a look. The first thing, we're doing signs, numbers, and variables. So we've got a negative multiplied by a positive, which is going to give us a negative. 3 times 2 is going to give us 6. Then we look at our x's. I've got 2 x's here and 2 x's there. So that's x to the power of 4. And then I've got 3 y's. So that's my first term. Okay, then I'm going to have a look at my second term. Second term, I've got a negative times a negative, which is going to give me a positive. 3 times 5, which gives me 15. I've got 2 x's and I've got 3 y's here and 2 y's here, which means I've got 5 y's altogether. And so that is my final answer for question 1. Tia, do I have a question? Tia Montenga, I see your hands up. Is that a question or was there a reason the hand's up? Okay, I'm going to keep on going because I'm not hearing from you. Okay, so that was question 1. And that is where that one ends. How did we do with this one? Let's say 0 is you got absolutely nothing right and 10 is you got it 100% right. Give me a number in the chat on how this question went. Oh, nice and few. Great. Cool. Okay. So almost there, Tyler. Good. These are nice high scores, guys. And remember, if it's 0, it's 0. Don't ever be embarrassed to write 0. I don't mind at all. I want you to tell me the truth so that we know how to fix it. Okay. Great, Thomas. That's awesome. Okay, let's have a look at the second question. You can keep those answers coming in while we start the second one. Oh, see, I'd erased this, and that's why there was this weird space. Let's just get rid of it again. Okay, so this one looks really horrible, but it's actually not so bad. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to identify how many terms there are. So I've got 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, and we need to simplify each term as it is. So that's our first step, is to identify our terms. Now we're going to simplify each term. So our first term, we're going to do distribution with just that first one. So we're going to say, well, 2c times c squared is going to give us 2c cubed. 2c times -2 is going to give us -4c. Who got just this part right so far? So just up to what I've written so far. You can either use an emoji or you can let me know in the chat who got that right, just that first bit.
Oh,
nice.
Very nice. Very nice. Well done, guys.
Okay, then we're going to look at our second term. So now we're going to just bring in this plus sign. So we have plus c squared, and then we have plus 3. Okay, and then we're going to look at our last term, and we're going to bring in a -3. So we're going to have -6c cubed, -15c squared, and -9c. Okay, what do I do now? What am I looking for in my last step? Who can tell me? Yes, Roma, exactly. I'm looking for like terms. Nice, Miguel. Okay, so we want to find ones that are exactly the same as each other. So I've got 2c cubed, and then I've got -6c cubed. And so that's going to give me -4c cubed. And then I've got c squared -15c squared, which is going to give me -14c squared. Then I have -4c -9c, which gives me -13c. And then I've just got my +3. Okay, and that is our final answer. Who landed up getting there? Who landed up getting to that final answer with everything the same as me? Ooh, lots of
Nice.
people.
Sure.
That's okay, Mlando. It's all right. Practice makes perfect. Cool. Okay, let's try and move into our division now. So now division, you're not sure where you went wrong. Okay, well, Mlando, try and break it up step by step. So first see, did you get those two? Then see if you got those two, and then check that those three are the same. So first check that all three of those boxes are the same as each other. And that means that you've done your distribution correctly, if those boxes are the same as your answers. And then if this line is different, then it means you've just made a mistake with your like terms. So just be careful with those. Ah, some POA, the 3 at the end, that's so irritating.
Aww.
Okay. Does anyone need to sit on this question any longer? Just let me know. You can either just let me know in the chat or show me as an emoji. Okay, cool. Let's move into division then. All right, so we're going to start division the same way we started multiplication, and we're just going to first look at just our numbers, and then we're going to bring in some variables, and then we're going to mush everything together. Okay, so now division works exactly the same way as multiplication, where we have, if I have in this first example, I've got a positive and I'm dividing it by a negative. And so what is my final answer going to be here? Is it going to be positive or negative? Yolanda?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
I want to ask something from the destructive. Ma'am, why don't we add the export? Yes, ma'am, from here.
Okay.
Why, ma'am, don't we add the exponents when we add like
Oh,
when we
okay.
add like 10?
Yeah, so when we're adding terms, it's like saying I've got 3 of these apples and I'm adding another 3 apples. So the apple doesn't change. I'm just adding more of them together. The only time exponents change is when I'm multiplying. So when I'm adding like terms, the exponents are always going to stay the same if I'm adding or subtracting. But if I'm multiplying or dividing, then my exponents change. So just like write a little note to yourself that when we add or subtract, then the
Okay, so when we add or subtract, we do not touch exponents. However, when we multiply or divide, we do touch exponents. I think ma'am just lost us there for some time. I'm sending this on your text. You should see that right now. When we add or subtract, we do not touch exponents at all. Right, you should see that under your chat section for now. Let me try to share a screen with you guys while ma'am is not there.
I'm here. Sorry, guys, I got kicked out of Zoom.
No problem, ma'am. Okay, let me stop sharing.
Just was like, nope, not for you anymore.
Don't worry, we go.
Okay. Sorry, guys. A little bit of chaos for our Thursday. Okay, can you all see the screen now? Okay, cool. Let's get going. So what I was saying there is maybe just write a little note to yourself that when we are adding and subtracting, when we're adding and subtracting like terms, then our exponents stay the same. And when we are multiplying or dividing, then our exponents change. Okay. And if we remember this, it's kind of like the easiest thing I always recommend my kids write this at the top of their test when they do anything to do with algebra. And it seems like something so small and silly, but if you just remember this, it makes life a lot easier. If you write at the top of your test whenever you do algebra, x times x, so that would have a 1 and a 1, is equal to x squared, and x plus x is equal to 2x. If you can remember this, this little block of information, that's kind of like the whole of algebra summed up into something very, very small and easy. And I know that that sounds like I'm oversimplifying it, but it's telling us that when we're multiplying, our exponents are going to be added together, and when we're adding, our coefficients are added together. So if you can remember that yellow block, then you're always fine when it comes to algebra. Okay. All right, let's just jump back into this question. So I saw quite a few people had given me an answer that it needed to be a negative, and you're absolutely right. So we follow the same rules as when we are working with multiplication. And when we have two signs that are different, so one positive and one negative, then our answer is going to become a negative. And then we just look at our numbers. Remember, a fraction is just a special way of saying divide. And so that's saying 10 divided by -2. And so our answer is -5. Exactly, sire, 100%. Okay. All right. So next one. I have two negatives. What is my answer going to be? Positive or negative? If I have a negative divided by a negative. Good, Roma. It's going to be a positive answer. Okay. And now how am I going to write this as a fraction? Because, yeah, what am I going to do? My number at the top is smaller than my number at the bottom. What can I do? What's it going to simplify to? I'm not allowed to flip it. Nokobonga, can you give us an answer?
You can find a number that can divide into -4 as well as 12.
Good. Okay. And so in this case, what number would go into both of those?
4.
Good. Okay. So I'm going to say, well, 4 goes into itself once and 4 goes into 12 3 times. And so my final answer here is that I've just got positive a third. So all we're doing is we're simplifying it as a fraction. Now, a very, very common mistake that people make here is that they turn it around and they say, okay, I know a negative and a negative is a positive. And then they say, well, 4 is smaller than 12. So what they must mean is 12 divided by 4, which is 3. Did anyone have like an instinct to do it that way? Did anyone want to change that so that we got a number like that? Was that something? Yeah. Okay. It happens to lots of us. So it's like we want to see something and we want to make it into a whole number. But when we have a fraction, we need to remember that 4/12 is smaller. That means it's less than 1. And so if you're dividing it like this, you're now changing it into a completely different number. And so when we have a smaller number on the top than a bottom, all we do is we look for a number that can go into both. Okay. And we simplify it. And it's, if I gave you a question like this, if I said to you, let's say I said 8/16, and I asked you to simplify that fraction, what would that be? Leah?
Hi, ma'am. Is it possible that the answer can be 2/6?
Yes, so well, that is what this is, but it's not my most simplified version. So I'd need to take it one step further.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Exactly, Roma. So my answer here would be 1/2. And you would all be fine with simplifying a fraction like that because that's something we've been doing since junior school. The only thing that starts getting confusing is now we're bringing in negative signs. And so things are like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But don't panic. Just go back to what we know and you will always be fine. Thomas, do you have something to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay, sorry, I just saw you unmuted.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
No, it's fine. Okay, let's have a look at example 3. Who can give me an example and an answer for example 3? And tell me what I'm going to do. First step is it going to be positive or negative? If I have a positive divided by a positive. Good. It's definitely going to be positive.
Positive.
Good, good, good. Definitely positive. Ah, beautiful. My answer is definitely going to be 12/5. So I have to say, well, what number can go into both of these numbers? And I know that 3 can go into both of them. So 3 can go into 36 12 times, and 3 can go into 15 5 times. So I land up with an answer of 12 over 5. And that would be my final answer. So we're looking at what number can go into both of these, and then we divide it by that number. So let me write it a different way for people who are feeling confused. I'm going to say I can divide that by 3, and I can divide that by 3. And so I'll end up with 12 over 5. Okay, let's try one more with numbers. Negative 8 over 24. What is that going to simplify down to? And now we're in another situation where our number at the top is smaller than our number at the bottom. Think about what your sign's going to be, and then think about what your fraction is going to be. Yes, guys. Good. Okay, I know my answer is going to be negative because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. And then I'm looking at what can go into both of these. Well, I can divide both of them by 8. And I would get negative 1 over 3. Now, some of you may have not seen that 8 goes into them. So let me just write this answer a little bit to the right over here. Okay, some of you may have seen, oh, well, I could divide both by 2. So I'd get negative 4 over 12. And that's still right. That's an equivalent fraction. It's just not as simplified as it goes. So then I could say, well, I could divide it by 2 again, and I'd get negative 2 over 6. And then I could divide it by 2 again, and I'd get my final answer of negative 1 over 3. Okay, so if you need to do it in multiple steps, that's 100% fine. There is nothing wrong with doing it in multiple steps. Okay, cool. Let's bring in some variables. So now what we have at the top is I've taken numbers out of the equation. We're just looking at our variables. We've got x, y at the top, and we've got x at the bottom. What is this answer going to land up being? What's going to happen here? Who thinks they can tell us or talk us through? Okay, so we've got some people saying y. Do we have anyone else who thinks it's going to be something different? Are we all coming strong with y? Okay, let's have a look. Y is absolutely right, guys. Let's see why though. Sorry, I just said y too many times there. So what we have is we've got this x at the top, and we've got this x at the bottom. And so they land up canceling each other out. It's the same as if I wrote something like 10 divided by 10. They would cancel each other out and just become 1. It's the same situation. And because they cancel each other out, we land up with just our y at the top. And so that's our final answer because everything else is cancelled. You could have written it as y over 1 if you would like to, but that means exactly the same thing as y. Okay, let's try something a little bit trickier. You're like, that's not tricky, it's exactly the same, but it's not exactly the same. What is my answer now going to be? Be very careful with this one. Oh, I thought I tricked you. I thought I tricked you, but I didn't trick you at all. Okay, let's see why our answer is going to be like that. This x up here is going to cancel with this x down here, but I can't just say that my answer is y, even though I'm only left with a y, because the y is at the bottom, it's not at the top. Okay, so I have to keep that y at the bottom, and I have to have a number at the top of a fraction. And so I'm going to write 1 over y. Okay, cool. I'm taking it that we're all doing solid so far because everyone's giving me beautiful answers. Okay. So now let's look at this question. I'm going to give you 2 suggestions for those of you who may be struggling silently on your side over there. First thing is whenever we see a variable that doesn't have an exponent, we can give it an exponent of 1. And if you are struggling to see what to do, you can always write it out. So when in doubt, write it out. You've got 4 x's at the top, and you've got 1 x down at the bottom. And then you can see from there, okay, well, this x can cancel with that x, and I'm only left with these 3 x's over here, which gives me an answer of x cubed. Okay. The quicker way to do this is when we are dividing with our exponents, we are allowed to minus these as long as the bases are the same. So when I say bases, it means these are both x's. When the bases are the same and we're dividing, we are allowed to subtract our exponents. So we're saying 4 minus 1, which gives us x cubed. Okay, cool. Try this one for me. And remember, if you're struggling, write it out the long way. Write out everything. So write your 2y's at the top and your 4y's at the bottom, and see if that helps you a little bit. Okay, so we're getting the answer of y squared, y to the power of 2, lots of y to the powers of 2. We've got y to the power of negative 2.
Very interesting at Wengile. Nokubong as well. Okay.
And we have a person who's got 1 over y squared. Any other answers that you have, just let them come in and we're going to write them all up here and we're going to chat about them. Cool. Okay. So I can tell you, okay, 1 over y to the power of negative 2. I can tell you that 2 of these answers are correct and 2 of these answers are incorrect. So our incorrect answers are y squared and 1 over y to the negative 2. And technically, both this one and this one are correct, but we don't like to give our answers as negative exponents. We always like to give our answer as positive exponents. And so we would rather do it like this. But let's talk about why that's the right answer and why the negative exponent is the right answer. Has everyone seen negative exponents in class already? Have people seen negative exponents? Yes? No? Mateo? Nokobonga? Where'd you go? Nokobonga, you were just here. Okay, so some yeses, some no's. Okay, so let's chat about what works here. So in this example, this is a similar situation to our fraction where we had a smaller number at the top than at the bottom. So we can't land up with a whole number like we had that 3 over there. We still have to keep it as a fraction. So this y can cancel with that y, and this y can cancel with this y. And both of these y's are still at the bottom, which means they have to stay at the bottom. And when we have a fraction and we don't have anything on the top, we write a 1. Now, where some people may have gotten this negative exponent from is they did the subtraction. So they said, well, 2 minus 4 gives me negative 2. Okay, and that's exactly right. The thing with negative exponents is these two mean exactly the same thing. So if I have y to the power of negative 2, that means it would be 1 over y squared. They mean the same thing as each other. The only reason we favor this answer is because we like to give our answer with positive exponents. That's the only reason, but they mean exactly the same thing as each other. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Let's start smushing things together. Oh, sorry, it's puzzle time. It's not very clear today, but hopefully you can see it enough in order to answer. Let me know what your answers are when you have one. Remember, the first person to get the answer right is the winner of the day. You can write your answers in the chat or you can unmute and let us know verbally, whichever one you prefer. I'm looking for the question mark. I want to know what my answer is over here. Let's see. I did warn you it was going to be a little bit harder than Tuesdays because you got Tuesdays too quickly.
This is a very nice one.
Mm.
Oh,
Roma,
Roma, that was so quick.
that was so quick. That was
Roma,
amazing.
are you sure you're in grade 9, Roma?
I know, it's crazy. Jeez. Roma, that was so super quick. Roma, do you want to talk us through how you got your answer? Or are you not a fan of unmuting?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi.
All I did was I said 18 divided by 3, which gave me 6.
Good.
And then I said 14 minus 6, which gave me 8. And then I said 8 divided by 2, which gave me 4.
Good.
And then I said, I saw that there were 2 owls. So then I said 4 plus 4 is 8.
Good.
So then I said 18 minus 8 is 10. And then I said 10 divided by 2 is 5.
Excellent.
And then for the last one, I said the elephant is 6. So then I said 6 plus 10 times 4.
Woohoo! Good
Well
work,
done.
Roma. That was so great.
Sure.
Did everyone
That was
see now how that
smooth.
one works? She was so fast. That was amazing. That was so quick. Did anyone else get close? Or were people still far? Like, did you get the elephant or the owl? Where did people end up getting to with this one? What did you land up getting right?
I told you that says I was lost. Don't worry.
Oh, that's all
You'll
right.
get another one next time.
Yeah. Yeah, you were close, Tyler. Okay, so if you got the elephant, that's a great start. The multiplication sign. Yeah, the multiplication sign was nasty. The other thing that was nasty here was that there were the 2 owls over here and the 2 cows over there. That was there to trick you. You got the owl and the elephant. That's great. Oh, Latabo, well done. Excellent. Just not quite as fast as Roma because she was on a roll. That was incredibly fast. Okay, let's move on down. So we're going to smush things together now. So now we're going to deal with our numbers and variables all together. So we're going to bring in our 3 magic letters again, which are signs, numbers, variables. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at in this question, I'm going to help you with this first one, and then I'm going to let you do the second one by yourselves. First thing I want to look at is my signs. So I've got a negative divided by a positive, which means my answer is going to be a negative. Then I need to look at my numbers. So my numbers here are 2 over 8. What is that 2 over 8 going to simplify down to? What is 2 over 8 going to simplify down to? If I just gave you 2 over 8 and I told you to simplify that, what would you get? So don't worry about the signs or the variables at all. All I want to know at the moment is if I asked you to simplify 2 over 8, what would you get? Beautiful, 1 over 4. Great. Okay, so dealing with my numbers, I know I'm going to have 1 over 4. So now I've dealt with my signs and I've dealt with my numbers. Now all I have to do is look at my variables. Okay, I've got 4 x's at the top and I've got 1 x at the bottom, which means one of my x's is going to take away from 4 at the top, and I'm going to land up with 3 x's at the top, and I've got my y just chilling there. You don't need to write the 1, but you can write the 1 if you would like to. Okay, is there anyone who's feeling a little bit uncertain with this question? Or anyone have any additional questions that they would like to ask about it? Tiana, do you have additional questions?
Yes.
Oh, how can I help, Sudot?
I'm so confused.
Okay, so let's just do it step by step again. Okay, first step, we look at our signs. Are you happy with your signs?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a good start. Then we look at our numbers. So our numbers, we've got 2 over 8. And so if I wanted to simplify 2 over 8, I'm looking at what number can go into both of those, and I could divide both of them by 2. And so I would get 1 over 4. Are you happy with the 1 over 4?
Yes.
Okay. Then for our variables, I'm going to show you the longer way. So I'm going to write them out. I have 4 x's at the top, and I've got 1 y, and then I've got 1 x at the bottom. And so what I can do is this x can cancel with that x, and then I can see, oh, I've got 3 x's left at the top, and I've got 1 y left at the top. So my final answer will be 1 x to the power of 3y all over 4. It's absolutely not compulsory to add that 1, Mlando. Tiana, does that make a bit more sense?
Yes, thank you.
Good, excellent, excellent. Okay, let's try another one, guys. Let's try this one. So I want you to give this one a try by yourselves. Just remember your 3 magic letters: signs, numbers, variables. Awami, how can I help?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Sorry I'm late.
It's okay. Are you giving me answers?
Ma'am?
Yeah?
Didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat?
Are you going to give me an answer to this one?
Oh, I just came in now, so I'm confused on what you're doing.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Maybe just wait a little bit. Okay, let's start seeing some of these answers. Okay, I'm really happy with that 1 over 6 that's coming out. Okay, so our signs are positive, and a positive is a positive. Our numbers, we've got 5 over 30, and I'm going to simplify that down to 1 over 6. Okay, so that I'm all super happy with. I'm seeing the 1 over 6, which is great. Now, at this point, if you're feeling confused with your variables, I can't recommend enough for you to write them. So I've got xy at the top, and then I've got 4 x's at the bottom. Okay? And I can see, well, this x can cancel with that x, and then we just write out exactly what we have left. So I've got 1y at the top, and I don't need to have that 1. I can just write y if I'd like to, all over 6x to the power of 3. How did this question go? 0, terrible, 10, amazing. Tell me. I'm getting lots of 10s today. That's like, oh, 10,000.
Well done.
Nice. That are great. Ezekiel, that's great. We work on up from there. Okay, let's try another one. Oh, you forgot to, yeah, the Y. Okay. That was a bit sneaky here, but it's not too bad. Give this one your best go. Ethan, I still thought your 11 was the answer to this question and not how you felt about the previous one. And I had no idea where the 11 was coming from. Okay, but I feel relieved now. Okay, so think about your 3 letters, signs, numbers, variables. Think about what 2 negatives are, then think about what your numbers would be, and then think about what your variables would be. Nice, guys. Solid answers coming through. Okay, let's have a look at this. So I have a negative and a negative, which I know is going to give me a positive. So my answer is going to be a positive. 5 over 9, I can't simplify that. That is as simplified as it can be. So I just am going to write my 5 over 9. Those x's are going to cancel, and that y was left at the bottom. So it's going to stay there at the bottom. Okay, so my final answer is going to be 5 over 9 y. Just be careful that you cross out those x's, so there shouldn't be any x's left in your answer, just 5/9y. Anyone have any questions? Okay. I'm going to give you one more like this, and then we're going to look at how we can use the distribution we learned on Tuesday with multiplication. We're going to do it with some division. You forgot to cross out the x's. That's okay. Okay. Also not a terrible one. Should be nice and quick. Let me know when you've got an answer for this one, and then we're going to move into some distribution division. So you cross out the x's because it's the same as if you had a fraction that was like 5/5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So they cancel each other out. X divided by x is 1. So it's gone because 1 times anything in multiplication is itself. Okay, so be careful now here what's going to be at the top and what's going to be at the bottom. Think about what your signs are going to be. Remember, signs, numbers, variables. Okay, cool. We've got lots of different answers coming in, so I'm just going to go through this one nice and slowly. We've got a positive divided by a negative, which means our answer is going to be negative. And now I have to simplify 6/24. Now, a little sneaky trick here is if you have a calculator nearby and you put 6/24 into your calculator as a fraction and you push equals, you will see that it simplifies it for you. So it does all the hard work for you, and you'll see that it's 1/4. So I know I'm going to have a 1 at the top and I'm going to have a 4 at the bottom, and I know that it's going to be negative. My x's can't cancel with anything, my y's can't cancel with anything, so I'm just left with an x at the top and a y at the bottom. And you don't have to write that 1, so you could also have just written negative x over 4y. All of that would be great. Okay, but don't cross out your x's and don't cross out your y's in this one. Cool, nice job, guys. Okay, let's have a look at how we can bring this into the thing we learned yesterday. I mean, on Tuesday. So I keep on saying yesterday. On Tuesday, we did distribution with multiplication, but we can also do distribution with division, which basically, so the idea of distribution with multiplication, like we spoke about at the beginning of the lesson today, is that that 2 needs to be multiplied by everything. Now, it's the same idea in division. Everything here needs to be divided by that 2. So I need to do it for each and every single term. I'm going to start with that term. What is 4y divided by 2? Just that. What is 4y divided by 2? What would my answer be? Exactly, Ezekiel. Great. It would be 2y. Okay. Then I'm going to look at my next section. So I'm going to say, what is negative 2x divided by 2? So what would negative 2x divided by 2 be? Be careful with your signs. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. Good. It's going to be negative x because my 2's are going to cancel. Okay. Then I look at my last term. So now I'm looking at this one and I'm saying, what is 8 divided by 2? And 8 divided by 2 is 4. And so that is my final answer. Now, the cool thing with these questions is that you get 1 mark for every term that you work out. So this question ends up being worth 3 marks, and it took you like no time at all. It's like this nice, easy question. So these are a great way to gain some marks when we're dealing with algebra tests. Do you feel ready to try one?
Okay, Thomas says thumbs up. He's ready.
Okay. Great. Try this one for me then. Remember to break them up, each one at a time. So I need to have an answer that's I'm gonna land up having 3 terms as my answer. Okay, as soon as you've got an answer, let us know, and we'll chuck it on the screen. We'll see if we're all on the same page or not. Just remember to do it like carefully for each one. So remember signs for each one, numbers for each one, variables for each one. Oh, we've got some answers coming in. Okay, so we've got our first answer. We have negative 3x squared plus x minus 2. Then we've got a 3x squared minus x plus 2. Then we've got a 3x squared plus 1 minus 2. Okay, so we're getting a bunch of different answers. I'm seeing some good things though with each answer, something good is happening. Okay, so let's do it step by step. First one, just looking at that. So first we look at numbers. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. 21 divided by 7 is 3. And then I've got my x squared. So if you got negative 3x squared for your first term, give yourself a mark. Then we look at our second term. We've got a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive. 7 divided by 7, which is 1. And then we've got our x chilling there. So if you got plus x or plus 1x, give yourself a second mark. Then we look at our third term. Now we've got these two here. So I've got positive divided by a negative, which is a negative. And I've got 14 divided by 7, which is 2. And that would be my third mark. How did we do? Did we get 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, or 3 out of 3?
Sure, Taylor.
3. Nice.
Brilliant.
Nice job, guys. 3 out of 3, 2. That's great. Excellent work. Keep it going. Okay, so if you got 2 out of 3 and not 3 out of 3, or if you got 1 out of 3 or 0 out of 3, let's try and make it one more than you got. So whatever you got, if you got 3 out of 3, obviously we can't make it 4 out of 3. But if you got anything less than 3 out of 3, let's try and just go up by 1 for this next one. I think this will be the last one that we're going to do this evening, and then I'm going to pass you on to Mr. Shongwe so we can get you onto the quiz for this week. So just take your time, don't rush it, and let's try and see how many of us we can get as 3 out of 3, because that will be awesome. Yolanda, that happens. Don't panic. Just try and learn from your mistake. Okay, and as soon as you're happy with your answer, chuck it in the chat for us. And we'll see how this one goes. And hopefully we can get a whole bunch of 3s out of 3. Be careful with signs, guys. Be careful with signs. Just going to give those of you who've given your answers, some of them are right, some of them you just need to be careful with your signs. So just have a relook, make sure you're happy with your answers. I'm going to give you 1 more minute to make sure you're happy with your answers before I go over it. Okay. First term, positive divided by a negative is a negative. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Y cubed divided by y is y squared. Give yourself a mark if you got that one right. Term 2, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Y squared divided by y is y. Give yourself a mark if you got that one right. Last one. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Y divided by y is nothing. And that is our final answer. What did we get for this question? 1, 2, or 3 out of 3? Nice, Ezekiel. Nice, Sire. Full marks. Great. Excellent, guys. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, this is where I'm going to leave you for the evening. So I'm going to pass you on to Mr. Shongwe. He's going to help you get onto the quiz for this week. Just do your best with it. If you're having troubles logging on, let him know so that he can help. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye, guys.